Halo. Justin takut. Good morning.
Good.
Oh, it is afternoon, eh?
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm good.
fine. And you can longer time to join them. Anyway, we can continue, eh?
Ah,
We can continue from where we are right now. Just a minute, eh?
okay.
So, we are going to discuss about type of employment contract. And in this case, we have types of employment contract. Just like any other contract, whenever you are entering into a contract, you must have to understand on the type of the contract that you are entering in. So what I'm saying is that in employment, an employment contract between two parties, that is employee and the employer. And for us to understand more about the employment contract, then we must understand that when we have contract of unspecified period of time, meaning this is a contract that is not have period of duration. And in this case, we can say that this is a kind of a contract whereby it can only expire or it can be terminated by either a notice by either party, either the contract comes to an end if someone resigns or if someone dies during the tenure in that organization. The second one is a contract for specified period of time. So, case, if we say a specified period of time, we could be talking about 2 years, could be talking about 5 years, 1 year, month, and so forth. This kind of contract comes to an end automatically at the expiry of the specified period of time. Or it is, we can have this kind of a contract coming to an end on the expiry of this specified period of time. Number three is employment for a contract of a specified task or just a piece of employment. Mostly, this is much of the casual a contract that you can days or even a period of time. But on completion of that given task, then that contract comes to an end. We also have the contract for casual employment, similar with the contract specified employment. Always that cannot last 4 hours. In this case, it is a contract that can last for less than 24 hours in the workplace. So those are employment contracts. Now, there are things that you can say are particulars contained in an employment contract, and these particulars are always contained in the Employment Act, subsection 10 of the Employment Act. So the contents include the section of employee, like you are employed by a certain company, then this company having your full details, that is your name, your permanent address or the physical address, and also the employer. The employer must have to state the name of the company or just the name of the employer in this case. So it is also contained in the Employment Act. That is a job description of the employment. And during the time you are in module 1, you did something to do with job description. That was the time you are doing foundations of risk management. There was job description and the job specification. So job description always contains the duties and responsibilities of the employee uh, at that period of time. So in this case, in that employment contract or in that employment have to contain the job description of the employment. The other thing is the form and description of contract. We've talked about the types of contract, and in this case, we've known and from the idea that we know the types of the contract, we've also been able to know the duration that contract is going to last. If it is for a specific period of time, the better. If it is for a specified period of time, the same. If it is a contract for casual employment, it is also still need to be contained in the employment. The other thing is the place of work. Assuming that you are working in an institution that is having branches, so we can have the head office. And if for this case, maybe you're working from the head office, that is the place of work for you. In this case, in a branch out, maybe that vicinity, then it must be said that they're working from that other branch. The hours of work uh, uh, is 8 hours, and if that is not the case, then it must be contained in your job description or in your contract that you're supposed to work above maybe 8 hours. And if it is more than 8 hours, what could be the remedy or what could be the reward for the extra hours you're working in that organization? The other thing is remuneration benefits. In a simple way, I can say this is all about the compensation of the employee. How are you supposed to be paid? And the next thing that you're supposed to know about remuneration is how you're supposed to calculate the remuneration and at what intervals are you supposed to be now making the compensation or just making the payment of this employee. And in most cases, you'll find that when it comes to the payment of the salaries or wages, it should be directly deposited to your account. If that is not the case, then there must be some other contract to be written. Probably maybe you've been employed and you don't have an account. You can still give out an account of another person, but it must be signed into agreement that another person is receiving the salary on your behalf. And the last thing there is any other prescribed matter, for example, the annual leave, holiday pay, pension schemes, sick leaves, termination basis, and so forth. Like in this case, we are always entitled to we are always entitled to 21 working days leave. We are also supposed to be paid during our time when um, having holidays or when you are sick. You're also supposed to be you're supposed to be paid in this case. Now, also, we need to understand the parts that we can find in unemployment act. And we have around, or we have six parts of unemployment act. We have the preliminary part. We have conditions of employment. We have uh, contracts of services. We have employment of women and juveniles. We have the general part, and we have the supplementary part. So if we can start by seeing the preliminary part of the employment contract. In this case, there are some other professions that shall not apply to all employees in Kenya, and more so, it cannot apply to the armed forces. It cannot apply to Kenya Police, Kenya Prisons, or the Administration Police Force, or the National Youth Service. But the rest of the people, they should be found in this preliminary part. Just like whenever we are having a dispute as employees, we're supposed to go to the labor office. But for the armed forces of Kenya, they are not supposed to go to the labor court, but they go to their own court. We are calling them court martial. So in this preliminary part, there is always a body that is entitled to running out the affairs of the employment in Kenya. And in this case, there is always uh, the board chair, who is always appointed by the president. And also we have the secretary and some other members who should always be assisting the chairman of the board. So those are some of the things that should always be contained in part one, or the preliminary part of the employment contract, or have the been given a job. So under the part two of the employment act, now we have to see, or we need to understand about the protection of wages. And subject to this act, the entire amount of wages earned by or payable to an employee in this of work done by him in pursuance of a contract of service shall be paid to him directly in the currency of Kenya. It's just like when you're doing international trade there, you cannot just accept maybe the currency of a different country to be in your country. So when you're doing international trade, you're supposed to read in hard currency. In this case, it should be in the currency that is acceptable. So in our country, Kenya, the only currency that we understand is the Kenyan shilling. Now, in some instances, employees can request the payment should be made. Like I said earlier on, I could not be having an account, and I'm supposed to receive my dues via the account. So in this case, it must be an agreement that who is supposed to be receiving my salary on my behalf. And in this case, there are things that should be considered, like the money should be made into a bank account. It can either be an account belongs to one person or a joint account. The other thing is you can be paid using different negotiable instruments. For example, a check, a postal order, or a money order. The other thing is in the absence of an employee, to a person other than the employee, if the person is duly authorized by him writing to receive the wages on his behalf, we've already mentioned about this separately. Then the other thing is payment of wages shall be made on a working day and during working hours. So if we say a working day and during working hours, it is always between maybe 8 in the morning and maybe latest maybe 4 in the afternoon. The other thing that you need to understand is a payment of wages shall not be made in any place wherein intoxicating of liquor, or a place whereby another person could use that advantage maybe to make the payment to you, then thereafter you buy from the same person. Then the last thing that we're supposed to understand is when wages are due, an employee shall be entitled to one, in the case of casual employee at the end of the day. Number two, when a task has not been completed, at the option of each employer to be paid by each employer at the end of the day in proportion to the amount of the task which has been performed or the one that has been completed. So it is upon the two parties to agree. If for this case, I was saying if for this case, you've not completed the work that you're supposed to do, what is supposed to be done? Are you just supposed to go home empty-handed, or you're supposed to pay something? So it is upon the agreement between the two of you, that is the employer and the employee. Then the other thing is in the case of an employee employed for a period of more than a day, but not exceeding a month, at the end of that period, maybe you're supposed to work for 5 days. So after the elapse of 5 days and completion of the task, then you're supposed to be paid. The other thing is in case of an employee employed for a period exceeding 1 month, at the end of each month, like those people who always talk about the salary, then uh, after that month, you're supposed to be given your dues, or you're supposed to be remunerated. And the last thing there is where an employee is summarily dismissed for unlawful cause, it shall be paid on dismissal all monies, allowances, and benefits due to him up to the date of his dismissal. So, to some extent, we're still going to discuss more about cross misconduct, which is also going to contain a dismissal. And in this case, which type of dismissal shall we be talking about? Then also, we need to know about deduction from wages. So, under the Employment Act or under the law of the country, any employee whose income needs to be taxed. And in this case, which type of deductions are we supposed to get from, or are we supposed to be paying at the end of that period in which we are supposed to get the payment? The obvious ones, we have the payee, that is pay as you earn. We have NHIF, National Hospital Insurance Fund. We have the NSSF, the Social Fund, and we have another one called Save as You Earn. So most of the people don't accept to save as they earn, but whoever is willing, then the better. The other thing that we need to understand about deduction is there's some other compulsory deduction. Maybe your salary is supposed to be deducted and maybe pay someone, or maybe you're still paying maybe the help loan and the rest. So it should be considered as deduction from the wages. Jacinta.